Hey guys, so I wanted to go over bottle feeding. Um, there's a lot to learn about it, and we had a NICU baby, and getting a baby out of the NICU requires mastering bottle feeding, and that can take some time. So I want to go over some of the things that I learned. Who knew there was so much to learn about bottle feeding? But but we did. So one of the first things I want to tell you is that um, bottles have different size nipples. So there's an ultra preemie nipple, very difficult to find, but they do make it and you can find it. There's a preemie nipple, and then there's a 1. And then there's a 2, and so on. We want to work with the ultra preemie or the preemie nipples. When you're feeding a baby, when you first start feeding a baby, it's not unusual for them to choke. So the ultra preemie nipple will have a much slower flow for the baby. The preemie nipple a little bit slower, and the 1 a little bit faster. So we settled in. We started with the ultra preemie and settled in on the preemie nipple. That worked best for us. Another way to avoid choking is to feed the baby on their side, like this. Okay, so she's on her side, and she would take the bottle on her side. Another way to feed her is on her side and at a 45. So now she's on her side and you're feeding her at a 45. These are all helpful things. Having a baby on a monitor is something that you do when you're in the NICU. And so we are privileged to see the different heart rate. But let me explain that by saying a baby's resting heart rate on average can be around 125 to 135. Sometimes lower, sometimes higher, but on average. When they eat, their heart rate goes to 165 to 175. Huge difference. It's been related to us that it's like an athlete running. So it's a lot of work for them to drink, to take a bottle. So be sensitive to that. It's a little exhausting. And with that, it's recommended that you don't feed the baby for longer than 30 minutes at first. Now, that could be 15 minutes with a 15-minute pause and another 15 minutes. So that's 45 minutes, but actually only 30 minutes of feeding. Also, it's been stated that after an hour, bacteria can grow on the nipple. So you don't want to feed the baby for longer than an hour total. Obviously, only 30 minutes of eating, ideally, but only having the nipple exposed for an hour. So those are some things that you want to just keep in mind when trying to get a baby out of the NICU or trying to feed a baby without the baby choking. Another way to do that is to let the baby have just a few gulps and then pause. So what that looks like is you would take the baby. Now, she's a little bit older. She's been out of the NICU for a while. So this is our burp cloth, our bib. And when she gets that, she gets excited because she knows she's going to eat. So when we first do a bottle, now I'm not doing the side feeding and the 45. We've done that, and that suited us very well for a month or two, probably 2 months. We are now beyond that. So when I'm first feeding the baby, I'm going to let her have 1, 2, 3, 4 gulps, and then I'm going to sit her up and let the nipple drain and let her catch her breath. And you can hear the food, the milk hitting her stomach. And then we'll go back. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we'll sit her up. Now she drinks through that now, but it's very helpful to do it that way when you're first getting her acquainted with bottle feeding. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then rise up. Nipple drains. It gives them an opportunity to catch their breath and helps cut down on the choking. So I just want to encourage you in that it is doable. It's not easy to get out of the NICU. We call it Bottle Feeding 101 University. So learning all the practices can be a bit challenging. And especially if you've breastfed babies for most of your life and all your grandchildren have been breastfed. She's our first formula baby out of several. So another thing is you want to switch sides. So a nursing mom would feed on one side and then switch in the middle to the other side, like so. And I want to encourage you, even though you're bottle feeding, to continue to switch sides, because what this does is it helps you as the feeder, whether it's parent, grandparent, not to get stuck in a way. If you're constantly feeding and looking over your right shoulder, you're going to get kinks in your neck. It's going to be uncomfortable. So you want to just continue to switch left and right just once, not throughout. So you're going to feed her half the bottle on the left, change her. That helps her wake up again. I don't change her diaper before I feed her. I change it in the middle. That seems to work out much better for keeping her alert or waking her back up after she starts to fall asleep. So feed on one side, half the bottle, change her, and then flip over and feed on the other. It's also good for her because we don't want her looking and her eyes just looking to the right all the time or to the left all the time. So just the same as it's going to be good for your neck and your back to switch sides, it's also going to be good for your baby for you to switch sides. So I encourage you to do that. Let's see, what are my notes? We went over the heart rate. Then, usually I'll burp in the middle and I'll burp at the end. Some kids burp more than others. So, it's not like you have to burp for 20 minutes. Put them over your shoulder. I usually will take the burp cloth and put it on my shoulder. And then I take and put her over my shoulder. And I like to have a nice muslin blanket and just pet her on the muslin blanket as opposed to just on her nightgown or her clothing. It's a little bit more of a patting. So I try to do it that way. You do what suits you. So we're feeding. We're giving a few gulps. She should be really hungry, and she seems to be loving the camera instead. But anyway, we're a little bit older now. We're a little bit further along. She's been taking a bottle for, I think, about 3 months, maybe 4. So we've been at this a little while, but I had no idea there was so much to learn. And I just want to encourage you in bottle feeding and knowing that it is doable. You can get out of the NICU. Chin support. Let me go over that one. That's a new one. Who knew? So you're going to feed. This is when they're in the NICU typically, and you're teaching them how to take a bottle. So what you're going to do is you're going to hold the bottle with your fingers, and then this middle finger is going to go under her chin and just lightly support her chin. You're not pushing. You're just giving a little bit of resistance, and it helps her to pace and learn to eat. Also, when they're eating, then you want to just like take a breath, show them, you teach them to breathe, because that's what happens. They get going and they forget to stop and pause and breathe. So you want to just and teach her or him, teach your child how to breathe. So yeah, it seems funny to do that, but we've done that, and it actually, she'll take a minute and she'll take her deep breath. Not all the time, but it's been effectual at helping her. So there, you can get through it. You will get through it. But just some little pointers, some little tips that might be beneficial to you if you're trying to bottle feed and get a happy baby and get a baby to take a bottle without choking. So I want to encourage you. God bless you. I may do another video about putting a baby in the crib and laying a baby down and how that works. So stay tuned. God bless you. Thank you so much for tuning in.